All right, guys, welcome to an episode of Grand Caliber, where this week we are doing something a little different. We are actually doing a collection review video, and I've got a very close friend of mine, Shawn Arani.
Hey, guys.
So let's just go right into it. You've got quite the collection, and this is kind of the first time I'm seeing it mostly in its entirety, as a couple times I've seen it, you've had watches in and out of service.
Yeah, I don't feel like I ever see it in its entirety.
Watch collecting problems.
Yep.
But I know you have one special watch on the way. We talked briefly about it. Tell me a little bit more about that watch.
I have this Cellini date. It's a white gold, blue dial Cellini date with the Omani Khanjar sword engraved on the back.
Okay.
It's got the original card, everything with it, but it's trapped in China right now. And it's
Customs
the only one.
issue?
What's that?
Is it a customs issue?
Customs and COVID issue that it couldn't make it over.
How long has it been over there for?
It's been over there longer than it should have been. But, it's the only one that couldn't be with us here today, but the rest, we got pretty much everything represented today. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. While we have everything out, what got you into collecting watches?
So when I was 11 years old, I went with my grandmother to a mall in Plano, Texas, and I, out of the blue, told her I wanted a watch. I couldn't possibly remember what it was about watches that made me want one. Probably saw something on TV, a commercial or something that made me want one. We walked all around the mall for the entire day. I finally went into PacSun, and I found a Fossil watch. Gray dial, dark gray dial, had a bunch of sub-dials in it. I had no idea what they did. Had a bezel on it that turned. I thought it was cool. I don't even know what it does, but I wanted it.
You just love the gadget feeling of the watch.
$27 later, I had my 12th birthday gift.
Let's dive into your boxes. Let's see what we got here.
All right, let's talk about it.
This is kind of a special box here. I'm seeing a lot of very special, unique watches.
Yeah.
First thing I noticed is these four watches here, they're all co-branded in a sense. You've got, is this a single quick or double quick?
That's a single quick,
right? Okay, single quick, Tiffany & Co. You've got a 16, is this an 800?
16800.
Yeah, Tiffany & Co. And then right here, you have a 5164A Tiffany & Co. co-branded Patek Philippe, which this is a very special watch, especially in the current market. These things are going to go nuts.
It's funny because I bought it many years ago. It was actually very hard to find. Shameless plug to John Mayer on the on the green strap. What's it called? Is it called the camo strap or something?
I think it's just green from what I understand.
It's just green.
It's like a camo green, but
I put it on there after I saw it because it comes originally, and I still have the original strap for it, uncut.
Right.
It's a black strap. It looks fantastic, but I want it to be a little bit more versatile. I kind of wanted it to look a little more unassuming.
This is one Patek that I could see myself wearing.
Really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would love to own one of these one day, especially, but there's just a price point is just running away. It's like, oh my
getting out of
God.
hand.
Yeah, it is insane. Which obviously, at least I have this. This is a watch I'll keep for for as long as I possibly can.
You absolutely should.
Yeah, I don't think I don't have any desire to sell it, but it's also a Tiffany & Co. stamp GMT, which leads me into this next watch. I do remember this watch.
Do you remember that watch?
I do. This is actually a watch that I was going to keep for myself a long time ago, but I decided to sell this guy because I think he liked it a little more than me. So it is a Khanjar stamp Datejust from the early 90s?
Early 90s, yeah.
It's a L serial. I think this is a birth year watch for me, if I remember. But this is a sick watch.
Yeah.
And tell me what really gravitated you to this watch.
So the first time you showed me this watch, one of the things that really caught my attention is if you look at the inside track, it has the Roman numerals around the markers. And there's just something about that subtlety and the fact that they have all the markers on there. You can tell what time it is, but if you look really deeply, it also gives you just like an extra indication, and it reminds me a little bit subtly of the Buckley dial.
Yeah.
Because I know you're a fan of Buckley dials.
I do, yeah. I do like those watches.
I don't own one yet, but one day. If you look at this one, that little track around there just has that like extra kiss from Rolex that just makes this Datejust special. And it's funny because with Datejust, it's funny, we look at a Datejust like, oh, it's just a Datejust.
Right.
It's like, oh, it doesn't tell you.
That is a lot more than a Datejust.
Rumor has it, and you'll probably know better than I do, these are made as gifts.
Yes.
That the Sultan of Oman hands out to his driver, to his people,
to his pilots, and so forth.
Pilots,
like everybody. I mean, he had everything from Datejust to vintage Daytonas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And you know, they start to make their circulation outside of that family.
Right.
And
Yeah, but not one of these watches was ever purchased direct. They're all gifts.
And
which is cool, which is really awesome. I like the strap you got it on too. It definitely brings out it brings out the stamp.
Yeah, it pulls out the stamp a little pale pale like Bordeaux colored.
Yeah. It's really neat, and we'll kind of go through here too. Like this is another one that you wore this into the shop one time, and I was like, whoa.
Dude, Marco. So the first time I ever met you, I wore this watch.
Yes, this is the first impression I got.
And I could tell you wanted to buy it because you were critical of it, but I knew you loved it. And this watch means the world to me. I bought this at a jeweler up in Minneapolis on a very, very special occasion. This watch was single owner. The guy passed away. He bought it from the same jeweler that I bought it from.
Okay.
From as AD, authorized dealer. He bought it from them. Matte dial. Was it nipple dial?
It's a nipple dial, yeah.
Why the hell is it called a nipple dial?
Well, if you look at the markers, they look like little nipples. I mean, that's basically that simple. That's the only reason they call them nipple dials. Like if you look at this watch, if you look at the markers, they're much wider and they're much more prominent.
Yeah.
And if you look at that, it's just there's barely anything. There's more of like a nipple appearance.
Okay, so one thing that I love about this Submariner is the fact that because of the dial, you have a matte black dial. You have the numbers, before they started getting extremely yellow with the numbers on the bezel, it still has that. Is that gilt dial? Is that what it's called, gilt dial?
No. So it would be like more of a matte dial. Looking at this watch, it has more of a matte finish on the dial. It's not really glossy as, a lot of these were glossy at one point. They've kind of settled down to a matte finish.
Sure.
With the nipple dial, and these are very transitional watch.
One thing I really loved about this watch is I remember going up to Minneapolis and seeing it for the very first time and thinking, there's something special about this piece.
Yeah, definitely.
And so they told me that the original owner bought it from the authorized dealer, who I got it from. He wore it sparingly over the years. It was his going out watch, a special occasion watch, and. When he passed away, his wife offered it to their son. He didn't want it. But so she brought it back in and said, find it a good home.
All right.
And they found it a good home with me. And I wear this thing at least once a week. I give it a lot of love, and it is a very, very special piece. Full set, box, papers, original hang tags, everything.
Wow.
And, the fact that they make a diving watch in all solid yellow gold with markers that, I believe, these don't even have lume in them, do they?
They're tritium based.
Tritium based, okay.
But yeah, what I also find really, really neat is just how transitional it is.
Yeah.
Like it's taking two major transitions in the Rolex world and putting them really into one. You have the look of the first era of the gold Submariners, which had the original nipple dials. And then you have the flavor of the late 90s, early 90s Submariners that had the strong, Luminova dials. And you have like the best of both worlds because you have sapphire, you have a better depth rating, but you still have that classic look. That watch is like right in the middle of the road. Like it just meets so many avenues for me. Like I personally want one of those. I know you find this watch special.
I love this watch.
Is it a 5146?
5146J, yellow gold. One thing I freaking, I love this watch. Here's why. All right, you've got a 39 millimeter Patek Philippe on a full bracelet, right? Let's get the hell out of here. You got a full bracelet, 39 millimeter, open case back.
Oh, it is an open case back.
Yeah. Full display of their brilliant movement. But the thing I love about this, I love the 912.3. I love the fact that they put an annual calendar on it with a moon phase and the luminous hands on it.
Oh yeah. I've never seen a dress watch with luminous hands.
Luminous hand dress watch, but also the fact that it almost throws it off just a little bit, and then the more you look at it, you go, it kind of enhances it.
It does.
It kind of enhances it because you're looking at a watch that's like, this is a dress watch that it's kind of like, oh, are you confused? Oh no, you're exactly where you need to be.
Right.
You're exactly what you need to be, and that's the confidence of Patek Philippe. And I just really love
It gives it more of like it gives it a strong vintage vibe. Those hands.
This gives it an endlessly vintage vibe. Now this watch is, I guess, what's vintage? 20 plus years.
I would say 30 over.
Okay, so it's on its way.
But that gives me like a more of like a 50s. The hands give me like a 50s,
like a
40s,
mid-century
50s vibe.
Mad Men kind of vibe to it, and I love that. And it has this sort of like wear it by the pool in Palm Springs kind of feel to it, but also wear it with a suit to dinner, wear it on a plane, on a Pan Am plane or something. You can kind of do anything with this watch. And what I love about it is you're wearing a yellow gold full bracelet Patek Philippe. Very valuable. All things considered, great value for this watch. But what I think is really special about it is the fact that, feel the weight of it, first of all.
Yeah, it's got a nice heft.
Deceptive weight.
It's got more heft than like a 36 Day-Date.
Yes.
Like far more heft than it.
Deceptive weight, deceptive level of like prominence in watch collecting. But the one thing that I've always gone for in my collection is trying to find pieces that will be classically recognized. Because when you look at this piece, you go, oh, that's great, like that's cool. How often do you wear that? I'm like, well, I wear it once every few weeks. The fascinating thing about being a collector is you constantly go through this identity crisis of like, oh, I really want to own all the things that nobody wants. But then you also go through a season of you go, I want to own all the things that nobody else can get.
Yeah.
And you go back and forth. You can see that entire identity crisis displayed in my collection.
Yeah.
I've got some of the ones that nobody can get, but I also got some of the ones that I'm like, nobody's going to want this but me, and I'm going to give it a good home, and I'm going to show it a lot of love. This kind of falls right in between, where I look at it and I go, nobody might ever appreciate this watch as much as I do, but at the same time, there's just something about it that feels like it's profoundly special to me. I also love that it's 39 millimeters because it falls just under that category of a normal male dress or sports watch.
This is such a nice watch.
I love it. Here.
It has such a great. I love the color of the dial too. It's like very cream. It's very. It goes.
What would you call that color?
I'd call it cream. This just been sticking out because this watch is. It looks lost. It looks lost, but it looks like it belongs where it needs to be. But it's like. It looks like it was adopted by your collection.
It pretty much was. Yeah.
This is a very interesting.
So this is a.
It's a Bubbleback,
Rolex Bubbleback Oyster Royal. This watch was made in 1939 at the turn of World War II, while Switzerland was just like, we'll keep making watches. And what's wild about this piece is it's a manual wind Rolex 31 millimeter men's watch on a strap, and still runs.
Yeah, you can't kill those things. You cannot kill these. There was such a craze in the 90s with the Bubbleback. Yeah. They were like hyped at one point. People, I have clients still to this day that are my older clients when they've been buying watches since the 80s. They always bring up the same watch to me, the Bubblebacks. Yeah. And they're so proud to tell me that they owned them or they still own them, and they're just like, man, these watches.
I've never fully comprehended what constitutes a Bubbleback watch.
It's definitely the case back. So the case back on these they're very like almost bubbly. I mean, they're very like rounded, they're very prominent in their shape. Sure. They almost take the same shape as the crystal. It's like from top and bottom, they're like sandwiched together, thus giving you the Bubbleback,
Got it.
But this is a really neat watch, in a sense of it keeps ticking. It reminds me of my grandpa's watch. It's small.
The Lange?
Yeah. It's small, you wind it up, you can feel everything working when you're winding, like you feel everything coming together, and then it just takes off.
Yeah, I mean, on my wrist, like it looks crazy, but at the same time, I've worn this a few times just to show it a little bit of love. Sometimes when you wear a watch like this, you will get more people asking you, like, what's that watch?
I feel like they'd only do that because it's so small. They'd be looking at you.
So small.
They're like, what are you wearing? Like,
it's so small that they look at you compared to like the one I'm wearing right now.
It's a beast.
So small.
That's a sub-dial on that watch.
Yeah, pretty much.
So this box we got here, guys, this is the box that everybody is going to be drooling over because this is the hype box. As I would say, this is the
hype watch box.
Yeah.
None of these were purchased as hype watches. That's the craziest part.
And I know that about you because it's crazy because you bought all these at retail. and all these watches came to you in a sense, or you just like them, and I know you have a love for Daytonas.
I just love them, yeah.
And I know you have a love for, you know, sport watches. So this box just makes complete sense for you.
Yeah, it does.
So a little bit about this. You do have both John Mayer watches.
I do have the John Mayers. It's so funny because when I think of John Mayer, hey John.
What's up, bro?
What's up?
Come on the channel, please. Just one time.
Do it for him.
Yeah.
So when I think of John, I actually think of the 5961P Patek with the baguette bezel, Lemanian-based movement that he wore
Right.
a lot. And it's funny because everybody does talk about this one as like the John Mayer Daytona. And it's because he called it. He called these two being extremely special.
Right. They're overlooked Daytonas.
Overlooked.
You know, this was before they were hyped up. People were like, oh, you know, they were worried about the stainless steel ones, but this one was being ignored. Yeah, I remember that was
I have a hot take on this watch.
Okay.
I think that it is the most beautiful watch I've ever seen, and it doesn't look good on me.
Really?
Yes, it's not a self-conscious thing. Like, I think it looks good. It's a good-looking watch. I just think that when I see this watch, when I opened the box for the very first time and saw this, I was like, that is the most beautiful watch I've ever seen.
It gives me strong Christmas time vibes.
Yes, it does give a lot of Christmassy vibes. What's really funny is I do think that the white gold blue dial with the red trim on the interior of the subdials,
Yeah.
I think this fits me better. But at the same time, it doesn't get the same amount of love as the John Mayer Daytona. Although he did predict that both of these would be extremely popular. Now, the thing about these is the fact that Daytonas in and of themselves.
Just a quick pause. Now,
Yeah.
did he predict that they would become a lot hotter, or did he, in a sense, rally
Affect the
them?
market?
Did he rally them up? You know, that's the $1,000,000 question, because he said in the video, he's like, you know, these are very overlooked. These are watches that I feel will go up in value. But
Yeah.
the person behind that statement is John Mayer, and he's very influential, right?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden after that video,
It's
it's
like-
like almost like the day after that video released, they went up in value.
You know, people have said that about like Jim Cramer on Mad Money and stuff like that.
it's
That
crazy.
he can actually
He can just
affect-
move markets.
He can move
Elon
the market.
Musk.
Elon Musk can do
I mean,
the
he
same
tweets
thing.
about Bitcoin and boom.
Yeah,
it just-
absolutely, and like I'm sure there's truth to it to some degree, if not to large degree. But at the same
Yeah.
time, like,
And I thought he was intending to do that. In my opinion,
No.
it's just something that happened.
look, these watches have taken their turn organically over time.
Right.
Yeah, like this one became more valuable because he put some love into them,
Right.
brought them into. But at the same time, it took people saying, hey, I need to own that. And I think that's one of the things that just blows my mind, even as a collector, is the value of all these. Oh, this one's worth this much. Or, oh, you could sell this one for this much. I'm like,
Right.
for me to be able to sell it for that much means there's somebody else
That loves it more than you.
that loves it more than me.
Right.
Is also in a position monetarily or even emotionally that they want this so badly that they're willing to part with X amount of dollars to own this watch or
Right.
to own a John Mayer Daytona. For me, the joy has actually been acquiring that. And, you know, when I first started collecting, I used to think this. I'm like, if you're a rich guy, not that I'm a rich guy, but if you're a rich guy and you want one of these things, go buy it.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand as I've matured as a collector
Right.
why it's so important to like listen. It's a game. It's a whole game. It's difficult at times to like obtain these pieces, especially now. So while it's really exciting to be able to go in and have that experience with your AD or whomever, you know, one of the great things is, okay, grain caliber, for
Right.
instance. You're giving people the opportunity to come in and own pieces that in 2022 are very difficult to come by.
Right.
And what you're providing is not only like a full-on, almost retail experience, especially when your new retail space opens
Right.
up and when you have the opportunity to sell to people with the presentation that you've always envisioned, you've always dreamed of.
Right.
But, you know, especially being a Dallas guy, you know, you have kind of become the sort of conduit of the watch world into the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And with your following and with like a lot of people that are watching your channel and following you, it's become more than lifestyle. It's really become about the pieces, and not only the value of like, oh, like I get to own this, and like I've got my like FU watch, and I've got like the watch I've got the watch I can wear when I go to a club. I'm old, I don't go to clubs, but if you go to a club, you go on a date. I got this watch, I got that watch.
Right.
No,
a watch for every occasion.
A watch for every occasion. What's more important is to have a relationship with not only the watch that you're wearing, but where you're getting them from.
Right.
Because ultimately, these represent more than just time.
Right, of course. Of course.
You know what I mean?
You know, it's all design aspect, it's all, you know, meaning, there's so much more that goes into just owning a watch than just owning a watch. Like you're saying, it's, you know, people collect these things for, you know, for mile markers.
They represent seasons in your life. So one time I bought a Cellini, and I was super excited about it because big Cellini fan. It was a Cellini.
Is that Cellini here?
It's not, and you're about to find out why. I bought this Cellini. Was super excited about it. Time only, simple. Was really looking forward to it, and I was backing out of the parking lot of the place that I got it from, and I hit the car behind me that was parked.
Oh no!
Don't ask me why. I don't know how it happened. It's never happened. Hit this car, and a guy pulled up. I've never told you this story.
I think I remember this.
I told you. Yeah. Okay. So a guy pulled up, and he goes, "Hey man, nobody saw. Just get out of here." And I was like, "I can't do that. I can't just like it." I was like, but he was like, "Seriously, get out of here. Nobody saw it. You didn't do any damage." I went and looked at the car. I was like, "All right, I'm gonna write my number." I put my number on the windshield, and after that experience, I was like, I hate this watch now. I can't own this thing anymore. And the reason it's called the Joe Biden Cellini is because it was on the day that Joe Biden got inaugurated, like officially inaugurated as president.
Okay.
And then so it was always the Joe Biden Cellini, and I had it for a while, and after a while I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I can't look at you. I just think of like the car I smacked into and how mad the person was when they text me.
Right. I get it. So there's always, there's a lot of moments when you're wearing a watch and something bad happens and good happens. I mean, I've been there. I know the feeling. Trust me.
Marco, when you look through your watches, you look at these pieces and you go like, I have some amazing stories behind this.
Right.
Memories, things that happened to me when I was wearing it. I have some really wretched moments in this watch. This one too. This one too. And it doesn't matter how much they're worth. It doesn't matter what it's called. Ultimately, these become a part of your humanity.
Right. They become a part of your identity.
Yeah.
In a sense, which I feel like my watch collection kind of became a part of my identity because they represent what I love and what I know best.
Yeah.
So I totally understand it.
What is it about your collection that feels like part of your identity?
I think the biggest thing for my collection and what it's almost like childhood-like in a sense where like I've dreamed of owning, when I was a kid, I was like the first dream of I remember of wanting a tangible good was a Rolex.
Really?
Like, yeah, it was like the first thing
first thing you ever really wanted
as a tangible good that I wanted to keep. It wasn't like like a bicycle or it wasn't like all right I want a PlayStation. It was like, no, I actually, like when I was 13 or 12 or whatever.
You wanted a Rolex?
I wanted a Rolex.
I love your ambition. That's why you are where you are.
No, that's why my collection means so much to me. Because every one of those watches has a milestone to it. Yeah. And those are like, I just remember each watch I grab, I'll remember fantasizing owning it one day. Like it just circles in your head over and over and over. It's like, it just comes up like almost like an ad just comes up in your head. You're like, all right, I want that. And eventually you just work your way to it. And I guess what I really love is it's a reminder when you have a watch collection, it's a reminder that you can manifest these things into reality. Like when you think of something you want it becomes a reality because you put the work into it subconsciously and it happens.
Sure.
It's always in that moment that I realize like, hey, I actually remember when this was just a thought.
Yeah.
And now it becomes a reality. Yeah. And each one of those watches to me is a symbolic reminder to that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, it's huge. Like when I got my first manual wind Daytona, that was like such a rewarding feeling, because like you know, when you first start thinking about those type of watches, at the time they're expensive, and you're like, man, it's gonna take a lot for you to get to that point.
Yeah.
And when you first have that thought, like you're like, I want something.
Right.
When you first have that thought, it's always happening way before you can actually go out and buy something, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So like, it's like when you're a kid thinking of owning a Lamborghini to the point where you go buy a Lamborghini. Like in that sense, like that is a far gap, because you're playing with the toy version of it,
Right.
you know, until one day you open the doors.
And now he owns. Do you own a Lamborghini?
No. I have a McLaren.
He has a McLaren. Okay, I'm so sorry. He has a McLaren.
Which is in the
One
shop.
day. One of the things I always ask myself, I'm sure you've asked yourself this question, or just indulge me and say you have.
Right.
If I had to just be because I'm a one car guy.
Oh yeah.
Like I just like my car. I have my one car. It's fine. I don't think anything of it. I get in it. I eat in it. You know.
You live in it.
I live in it.
Yeah,
It smells like coffee and all kinds of things to make up for the other smells in it. It's just a car. It's just a car.
Okay.
Like but
I almost spat that out.
But to me, like when I put on a watch, it means so much.
It does.
And you know, there's other people out there that they put on a timepiece, and I'm not talking about like the Apple Watch owners, no disrespect, but I'm talking about if you're
All the
here.
disrespect.
If you're here, you're
all the disrespect.
confused. Yeah, I'm very confused. But if you're the type of person that you own one watch, you own one Datejust, you own one Omega, I admire that.
No, me too.
I do.
We've been there.
Yeah.
I've been to the position where I only had one
Yes.
watch.
Yeah.
And I
had
wore that
one
watch every day. It's been with me through thick and thin.
Datejust in a dream, my friend.
Yeah. No, my very first Rolex was a Datejust, and I wore that thing every day and I remember for like 5-6 years. And I wore that thing every day until it just like nearly fell off my wrist.
Absolutely. You know? And I look back at old photos and I remember a time like that. And when you get into collecting, don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic place to be. Like I'm very fortunate, I'm very blessed, like, however you look at it. Like I'm very happy to be in this situation. But every now and then I look and I go, what's the one watch? What's the one watch I would own?
Right.
You know what I mean? What's the one that, like, if I could only have one watch, you have to wear it. You have to wear it with a suit. You have to wear it to the beach. You have to wear it to work.
Good question.
You have to wear it.
It's a good question. What is your one watch?
So I have my answer, and it's kind of a random one because a lot of people would choose like a stainless steel. I go here. 116.
For every day, one watch every day.
Every day.
Every occasion.
Every occasion. 116 505 Daytona baguette markers. Here, take a look at it.
God.
You know the watch.
It's a sick watch.
You've worn it on the beach before.
Yeah, I have a memory with this watch.
Yeah, tell me.
So yeah, no, I remember I wore one of these to Turks and Caicos on the beach, and then I was able to actually.
Did you lose it in the ocean?
No, actually better. I bought a baguette platinum Daytona at retail that day. It was a great day for me.
Yeah, that's a good day. So the reason this would be my one, I think they call it an exit watch. Is that right? Like an exit, like if I were to get rid of everything in my collection, the reason I would keep this one is I think it goes with everything. If I wanted to wear a suit, if I wanted to wear it to the beach, if I wanted to do anything with it, I feel like it fits every occasion. The rose dial with the rose gold bracelet, the baguettes give it a little bit, just like a little peppering of gaudiness.
Oh yeah.
But also at the same time, like it could blend in with. You could wear a t-shirt, jeans. You could wear it with a sweater.
And it's a Daytona. At the end of the day, it's a Daytona.
It tells the whole story.
Yeah.
Well, when I bought this watch, you know, it was funny. I bought it and I was like, I don't even know if I like it that much. Like, you have to understand, this was a time before Daytonas were what they are now.
Right.
And when I bought that watch, I remember thinking, I'm going to keep it for a couple months. I bought it pre-owned from an authorized dealer, but pre-owned.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to keep it for a couple months. If I don't like it, I'll move on from it. But when I looked at the card, I saw the name, and the name was very familiar to me. And it was a very prominent, like, world top 10 tennis player. ATP Tour, world top 10 tennis player. And I saw the name, and I was like, I looked at the name of the AD, because it was an older card. So it had the name of the place where he bought it from. I looked it up, and the day that he bought it was the day he lost the semifinals at Wimbledon.
Oh wow!
And I guess he went to go drown his sorrows in Rolex.
What is it called? Therapy shopping?
Yeah, retail therapy.
Retail
really,
therapy?
retail therapy. As a tennis fan, tennis fanatic, tennis player, hugely special.
Nice. Moving on to the next box.
Yeah.
I see some really, really interesting watches in this box.
You see a lot of dress watches in this box.
There's a lot of dress watches. There's some stuff. There's three that are just standing out that are really, really cool that I particularly like. These IWCs.
Yep. I'm a huge fan of IWC.
So there's one I want to particularly talk about because
Yes.
I've never seen one in person until today. It's this platinum
5002 IWC Big Pilot Platinum Blue Dial, number 447 out of 500. Now, what's really interesting about this watch,
Yeah.
and the thing that drew me to it, was that if you Google, and I suggest you do this, Michael Jordan Medal of Freedom? Is it Medal of Freedom? Actually, if you just Google Michael Jordan
And Obama.
medal, and you look, there's a photo of Michael Jordan wearing this exact blue dial platinum Big Pilot in a video where he is receiving a medal from President Obama. So what's really interesting about this, Michael Jordan being a big watch collector, I don't know how accurate this story is, but this is a story I've been told more than once. And in the nerdy watch collection world, somebody asked Michael Jordan, "Hey, you were wearing that platinum Big Pilot when you," he's like, "when you met with President Obama." He's like, yeah, and he had moved on from it. He doesn't have that watch anymore.
Right.
All right, very interesting. He's wearing a blue dial. IWC made 200 blue dials, 300 black dials when they put out the limited edition Platinum Big Pilot.
Right.
So if you own a blue dial, you have a 1 in 200 chance of owning Michael Jordan's watch. Also, this watch is the kind of watch that you wear when you want to sink to the bottom, my friend.
Yeah, that is a hefty watch.
It is a heavy watch. But
This it almost feels like holding an AP brick, but on a strap.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy.
It's like just.
So, one thing that's really fascinating about some of these watches is like you've got Daytonas, you've got Submariners, you've got Royal Oaks, you've got Pilots. So you've got racing watches. Well, I don't race cars. You got Submariners. Well, I don't dive. You've got all this. But the one thing I do a lot of is I spend a lot of time on planes because I'm constantly traveling for my career. I've always had a fascination with aviation and flying and all of those things. So the pilot-driven aesthetic and complication of a watch has been something that has always gotten my attention.
Right.
Which I think is just like fantastic. So when I found out that IWC made a watch called the Big Pilot, I was like, heck yeah, let's go for it.
Right.
So we started a little bit of a Big Pilot collection. Now granted, I know that the Big Pilot has gotten a lot of publicity with a lot of celebrities wear them.
Right.
It's kind of a one-off, fascinating watch. I love them mainly just due to the fact that, like I said earlier in the video, I love a watch that you can just look at and you know exactly what time it is.
Wow.
And this thing is basically a clock on your wrist.
Well, this does a service to the town. Because everybody looks at your wrist, will see the time from everywhere.
Absolutely.
So
Happy to help.
It's definitely a massive watch.
Yeah, it's fun.
I was trying to wear it today, and I was like, man, this might look a little insane on me personally. I feel like it takes like a, I feel like it definitely takes like a bigger figure to pull this off.
It does take a big risk to pull off that watch, but also at the same time, I think that's kind of part of the watch is the fact that you're wearing 46.5 millimeters of just, nobody
dial.
Needs 46.5.
It's like 46, it's 46.5 millimeters of dial. It's like all dial.
It's all dial.
Yeah, it's all dial.
Sometimes it's a little bit fun to wear something.
Right.
It's like wearing a hyperbole.
Hyperbole, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Wow. And I take it the buckle is also platinum, correct?
Buckle is platinum too to counterweight the.
It's a lot of watch.
Yeah.
How often do you wear that?
This one, I don't wear it as much as I should. I guess when you own this many watches, none of them are worn as much as they should. Right. But at the same time, like this one, it gets worn a couple times a month. So we're getting a little bit of noise from the rowdy crowd.
It is the Masters going on, by the way.
Yeah, we are.
So the Masters is going on today, and we're at a golf course. So excellent timing. not his fault, not my fault. We just kind of made a date.
Nobody's fault. It's Tiger's fault.
And I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, it's the Masters today. Yeah. All right. So you've got this one, which is obviously very unique and maybe possibly Michael Jordan's watch. We don't know. 1 of 200 chance, like you said. And then you've got this watch that looks like it went through a couple of tours.
That is the Desert Storm Mojave Big Pilot, courtesy of the IWC Boutique off Rodeo Drive in California. Both of these, actually. That is a very unique watch. It's a fully ceramic, almost Kevlar style. Looks like it's just been through a sandstorm.
Yeah,
it
looks very camo-ish.
No, I tell you what, like there's one thing about a hyper monochromatic look on a watch is something that I think is just so bold. In an era where we're going for blue dials, green dials, all these different these contrasts. It's like, oh, it's rose and blue. It's rose and it's like sometimes when you just see something that's all one, it draws your eyes in even just a little bit more. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's really neat. I've had a few of these come through our shops before, and they're definitely.
I've seen the perpetual in your shop before.
Yeah, that's right. We had a perpetual calendar at one point,
cool.
Which is really cool. I'll tell you what that sticks out to me the most, and this is a watch to me that like meets vintage meets modern, and you got a lot of like contrast.
Audemars Piguet.
We gotta get these guys out of the way because they like to roll. One watch that sticks out to me, it's this AP Remaster.
The Audemars Piguet Remaster 01, remake of a classic, also from a very difficult time. That watch was originally made around the time of World War II as well.
Right.
If you look inside of one of the subdials, you'll see a red 45 in there.
Right.
And that is a representation of the original Remaster, which was created as a soccer referee's watch, football referee's watch, to maintain time during the halves of a soccer match.
Right.
And this watch is a tip of the cap to a very difficult time in the world, which is ironic because this watch came out in 2020, which was also a very difficult time in the world. What's beautiful about this watch is that it's a two-tone watch, champagne dial, rose gold and stainless steel case.
Yeah, it's got a lot of...
with an open case back, flyback chronograph, fantastic, beautiful, extremely underrated AP, in my opinion. My favorite
I agree.
AP,
I agree.
for sure.
I love the fact that you got a lot of vintage vibe.
Yeah.
That meets modern, ingenuity.
Yeah, the lugs. It's got those curved lugs. They give it that sort of mid-century, almost Art Deco-y vibe to it.
Oh yeah.
And it's got like and that big old crown with no crown guard on it. And I can tell you like the strap.
The strap is my favorite.
You like the strap, don't you?
I love the strap. But what I love most about it is the movement. I mean, just how beautiful this movement is. Like the craftsmanship behind this movement is just, it's next level.
Yeah.
This is I agree, very understated watch.
Yep.
I think it gets overlooked a little too much, in my opinion. The thought process behind this watch that AP had building it, it's just amazing. Like the rich history they entangled with modern ingenuity is just amazing.
They really did an exceptional job. I love the way that the crystal is kind of curved over the dial.
Because you can see it at all angles.
Yeah.
There's not an angle that you can't tell the time on.
No, and that's a hallmark. I mean, if you look at the code 1159 that AP has been putting out, that's one of the hallmarks of something that they've put a lot of ingenuity into. Mm-hmm. Now, this one originally came on a calfskin strap. I threw it on a green suede just to give it a little more pop. So I'm a huge fan of Lange. I don't know it doesn't have like the pop culture following that a lot of watches do.
Yeah.
But like this Lange and Sohne Saxonia with this huge date on it and the moon phase.
Yeah.
Is just fantastic to me. And then if you take a look and you look at the case back, their movement is absolutely unmatched when it comes to the detail. And one of the things I love the most about Lange, so it's a German-based watchmaker, and you can see I don't know how else to put this. You can see the German in their design with like their more solid lines, and they're just, I don't know, there's just something, even down to the buckle and the way it says Lange on the buckle, it has this German sensibility to it.
Yeah, I love this push button for the date.
I do too.
That's sick.
Yeah, I think Lange is like JLC. Lange is like the watchmaker's watch. You know what I mean?
For sure.
It is one of those brands that is completely movement forward. It is intensive on the craftsmanship of the timepiece, and I think that is just
it's definitely
I should get more of them.
I think we've touched a closing point here. You know, we went over your watches. We got a little bit, we got to get to know you a little bit on camera, and I just want to say thank you for shooting this video with us.
Guys. Thank you.
And thank you, Matt, for putting the time into this, and everybody else that makes this possible. And man, this is a wrap. And you, like I said, your collection has definitely been inspiring.
Well, and I will say that as a collector, and I mean this sincerely, you have always been horology first.
Yeah.
And I think Grand Caliber has got endless potential with you at the helm.
I appreciate that.
I'm honored to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. Again, cheers.
Cheers to you.
I know you're a little dry there, but
cheers to Grand Caliber.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that last video. Thank you, Shawn, for having us out there and shooting your watch collection. Guys, we're trying something new. We're really trying to shoot content with, perhaps you guys' watch collections, or even a watch that has a really significant story to you. If you have anything interesting like that, of that nature, please feel free to reach out. Our email is content@grandcaliber.com.